be vigilant about watching for inflation. Can you name one time in your agency's history where you got it right, where you got on the brakes in time to correct runaway inflation? Do you have any track record at all where this?
Absolutely. Ever since Paul Volcker conquered inflation in the early 80s, inflation has come down very steadily. And over the last,
I feared that you were going to mention Paul Volcker. I don't think he got to it in time.
Well, after he came in,
Your goal is 2% or less. I don't think he.
By time Chairman Volcker left office, he came in with a 13% inflation rate. He left office with a 4% inflation rate.
After it went to?
At 13% was the highest. Then it came down over about 8 years under his stewardship to about 4%. Then from there, under Chairman Greenspan until the late 90s, it came down gradually to about 2%, and it's been there ever since.
Yeah, but I don't think the agency got to inflation on time, as you're proposing.
It has, except in the 70s, which of course we've learned from.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll beg to differ there. The banks, there's a lot of government products on the street, to support this borrowing that we're doing. Doesn't it make sense, at least it does to me, that when banks have one of your products to invest in on their balance sheets versus the small business down the street, they're going to go to your product? And so couldn't you argue then to Mr. Langford's point that, my Lord, if we just stop these products from being offered and let banks invest in the private sector where you get a better return on your money, that could be a solution, at least to Mr. Langford's question?
No, I don't think so. So first of all, we pay 25 basis points, 1/4 of 1%. So if there's any attractive lending opportunity out there, banks would certainly prefer to do that than put money with us. Secondly, the existence of those reserves is the counterpart to the purchases of securities that we're doing, which in turn is lowering rates and making it easier for borrowers to get credit. So you can't look at one side and not look at the other side. So I think that's not correct. I think it does help credit extension.
Okay, thank you. One last thing. Over the last 3 years, you advocated over $1 trillion in government spending. Considering when government gets $1, we make 60 cents. And I think the private sector record is for every dollar the private sector gets, they make 120 or 130. Can't you at least argue that taxing and borrowing and bigger government is not the most effective way to grow the economy?
It's certainly true that taxation in particular has what's called a deadweight loss, and so the loss to the private sector is greater than the taxes actually paid because of the distortions that are caused. And as I've said, I think anything that can be done to make the tax code more efficient, fairer, lower rates, and so on would be good for the economy.
I agree with you there. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Yarmouth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Bernanke, thank you very much for your testimony. I want to return to this issue of the possibility of not extending or raising the debt ceiling. And